And we're back. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's John Jay back again with another edition of Head Movement MMA. Coming to you a couple days after the PFL championships. Took one of my good friends up there to help me report on the event. Big John. Say what's up to the people, Big John.
What's going on, everybody?
So we had some fun up there. 6 championships. Or 6 fighters were crowned champions, and then you had the one special event headlined by Kayla Harrison. But the event was held on New Year's Eve at Madison Square Garden Hulu Theater, and not actually in the garden itself. But nonetheless, the place looked pretty packed, pretty sold out to me. What were your overall thoughts of the whole event, John?
It was a really exciting event to be at. It was a different type of MMA event than you see at most places. And, the biggest factor in that is from the first fight to the last fight of the night, there's $1 million on the line every time somebody gets in. It's a whole night of headliners. Yeah. You usually have pre-cards and pre-cards and stuff like that. And there was none of that. It was all business all night. And, the event was awesome. And they packed the house for the space they had. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They had I know there were a few stars there that I didn't see, right off the bat until like towards the end and some of the post-event pictures. And I didn't realize that they had that many fighters and other celebrities there. So it's pretty cool, Some of the fights turned out the way I thought and some didn't for the most part. But I think, a couple of the major upsets we'll get into here shortly. But the night opened up with Lewis Taylor and what is his name? Abus Magomed, I believe that's his name, right? Which, wow! I mean, I tried to get Taylor, for an interview, and he kind of brushed me off nicely, but he was like he's in the midst of, training, so he didn't want to lose focus and unfortunately, he, the day that I asked him, he had a close friend of his pass away. So it just wasn't good timing, But we chatted a little bit after the fight, but nonetheless, we'll try to get him on the show. But I asked him for a guillotine, right? For the win, and he just kind of chuckled. But he's got a mean submission game, but not too many people know about that. But he's like undefeated for the last season and a half, I think. So and at 39 years of age, 33-second knockout in the first round.
Of all the fighters, we saw the least amount of action from him because he finished so quickly.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, age, everything out the window. It's all about getting in the cage and getting the job done. And he showed us how to do it with essentially $1 million punch.
Oh yeah, he came over. What was that? What is that? It was a left. It was a left. I don't think it was an uppercut, but it was like an overhand right kind of. And then boom, he laid homie out. I mean, it was kind of scary. But he was out cold, man. And then, and it's a beautiful thing because, his wife's always there, supporting him at all the PFL fights, at least. And, he had his two daughters that were there, and, he gave a nice speech. He's got his daughter's education, paid off now, or he's going to set that money aside and, everything. It wasn't going to go crazy, right? Because, at 39 years of age, you get a little bit more self-control and you earn some things and purchase things that you've already had. So it's nice to hear that that's what he had planned for, a good chunk of that money. But yeah, man, real cool dude. Real down there, shredded as hell for 39, man.
He's and I bet you he was real happy to be on this top 10.
Oh God, yeah.
Big for PFL all around.
I mean, I know you watched some of the PFL 10 event that was in DC, but not all of it. But he had that. Remember, he had that controversial, decision with him and John Howard.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this.
It was kind of like a tie or something. So it was like a tie, but John Howard had like some illegal punch or yeah, they were trying to say it was like that he got hit with an illegal knee and it wasn't, and so on and so forth, and then I hate to put it out there, but Taylor was kind of pouting out there. He was stomping his feet, throwing a tantrum a little bit. But Big Ray, the original OG Sugar Show, Ray Suffo, kind of settled him down. It's like, hey, just wait till they come out with the decision, and they awarded him the decision, and he won, man. And I'll tell you that dude, he's got $1 million smile, man. He puts the stunners on and it's like, dang, man, this guy's legit, man. So, hats off to him.
For sure. Credit where credit's due. He earned it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you can say about. I mean, you can't comment on it. Like he shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, like, dude, he just went out there and you know what? Let me see what they. Oh, and then you remember that when he dropped him and the dude passed out, he ran over and he got another punch in him when he was flat on his back. It was icing on the cake, and it was like boom, and I was like, oh crap.
I don't know if Big Dan was ready for a knockout that quick because, yeah, you know what? Taylor got across the ring and landed a nasty already post knockout blow, but the ref couldn't stop him. So, but
yeah, that was Dan Mergliata. That's so funny. I'm trying to see if they have and if they sent me the CompuStats. They sent me the CompuStat records.
Okay.
For some of the fights, they sent me the CompuStats. I'm just they did send it. Let's see. Abu Smagomed. Total strikes landed thrown 0 of 2. Lewis Taylor 3 of 4. Right, 75% percentage. Total power strikes landed 2.
1 for a knockout and 1 post knockout.
I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean,
if you got that kind of juice behind your biggest shots, you're going to knock guys out.
He threw 4 punches and 1 kick.
So 5 strikes?
5 strikes, brother.
That's like Mayweather money.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And he was 1 for 1 on his leg strikes.
Oh.
So, I mean, he was efficient. He was very efficient.
Hats off to him.
I mean, he didn't break a sweat. He didn't break a sweat, man. I mean, that was just Jesus, man. I mean, that's really cool, man. That's really cool.
You compare the event we went to back to a regular UFC event. There's not this big year-long buildup. You haven't been a part of this tournament going in. Like, it's like the Super Bowl out there almost, whereas, the regular UFC style fights never get into that type of buildup to that kind of crescendo with that much juice behind a fight.
Right.
That kind of made it cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, and that's the end of their season. And if people haven't caught on, they know the name PFL, but they may not realize what PFL stands for, and it's Professional Fighters League. Right. So they run their event, I guess, or not necessarily event, their organization as if a professional football or baseball or basketball team. So it runs from June to December 31st. So and then there's the off season, right? So from January to May. So I'm curious. I mean, we didn't, we got to ask a few questions at the end of the press conference, but it was such a long night.
Yeah, it was.
I'm just curious if they think about doing a like a preseason or something, right? Like for the preseason would be the audition for the new guys, for the new fighters, because let's see, so there was 12 that fought, 12, 36. So I think 36 fighters made the playoffs.
Okay.
So those and they had 72 fighters total. So those 36 automatically get to come back next year. And then they audition or bring in 36 new fighters because they remember they said they're just going to keep it at 72, and then plus the 11 new ladies that they're adding for Kayla's division at 155. You know,
It's going to be cool.
featherweight.
I'm glad they'll have a women's division this year too. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope they bring some serious competition in, and people are like, well, it's hard to find people at 155 or 145 where where Cyborg is fighting. But Kayla has said that she walks around at 165, so she's only cutting 10 pounds. Like, dude, they can cut 10 pounds in a day,
Right.
no problem, and still be rehydrated. No problem. So therefore, you have fighters who are competing at maximum output, right? Instead of going 6 weeks with limiting your food intake and carbs and all that, and then trying to worry about timing timing your weight loss for that morning, so hopefully you wake up and you only maybe less than 5 pounds that you have to lose, if that, right? And then you go weigh, and then you hydrate at the end of whatever throughout the night before the fight. But it's like Ray Cooper, he walks around at 185, 190, and then he's competing at 170. So he's really not cutting that much weight, So he wants to compete at 185 and 205. And I mean, that's just now that's just huge. But we can talk about him later. But yeah, but I guess Taylor had a nice little quote about winning. He's like, regardless of the $1 million, he's been in this game for 11 years, and he felt it. It's funny, right? He felt he owed it to himself to be a world champion. I mean, okay, buddy, but I mean, I guess everyone feels that way. But he didn't start until he was like 27, 28. MMA period. So he definitely got into this late into the game. So then gave a big thank you to all the PFL and to his fans. So, but he said he's coming back next year, so he'll be 40 at the start of the next year.
Yeah. I mean, one of them, I don't know which one, in that post fight conference there, he talked about, I'm looking forward to being back as long as they'll have me, even after the leaders said that they're all back in. So it's maybe they weren't even the fighters might not be 100% sure about what's up for next year yet.
Yeah, I mean, OC was hinting around that he's done. But that's kind of like the UFC's issue with GSP. I was like, how are you going to win the belt and then walk away?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm sure they'll get OC back, whatever that dollar amount is. I'm sure they'll offer it to him.
I hope so, because he was one of the most exciting people to watch the whole night. I thought, watching him.
Yeah, I mean, like they were saying, like, it's not a fight with OC until you open him up, right? And he's all bloody and he's like Rocky out there. The guy just never quits. He never gives up. And I mean, he's got that, he's a hefty lefty, even though he's just a light heavy. But man, that left hand he's got bricks in that left hand. So
I felt like he stuck to his game plan so deliberately. He knew not to mess around on the ground. He made that guy, kept standing up with him, and he kept putting him down, and he didn't let himself get sucked into anybody else's game. It was just impressive for me, from my perspective.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we're skipping, but let's go back to the. I mean, but great way to start that event off. That really set the mood, and unfortunately, the rest of the fights didn't go that way. But the next fight you had Lance Palmer and Steven Siler. That went the distance, right? So you had the first fight that was 33 seconds, and then the second fight went the distance. I mean, uh, but it was it was and Lance Palmer. I want to say Lance Palmer. Did he finish as the champion last year? I can't remember. When they were the WSOF, the World Series of Fighting. So
I'm not 100% sure.
yeah, I mean, I don't feel like googling it, and everybody knows who listens to the show. We don't fact check that often, so it's all good. So, but yeah, he had a decisive, win. It was 50-45, 50-45, and 49-46. So, I mean, they didn't give Seiler like any credit whatsoever.
Palmer dictated. He started his takedowns early, and he continued with that.
Yeah,
Seiler never got into his game. Seiler had to play Palmer's game, and Palmer's going to win that just with
yeah,
almost any fighter if he gets to play his game his way.
yeah. I mean, he's a small 145er, but he's ripped and pretty muscular, and he's got a great wrestling background. So, he's definitely playing into, or Seiler was playing into his world. And there was a lot more output from Palmer also. So, and it was it was warmer in there than usual, um, compared to the other events that I went to. But the one in Atlantic City was very, very cold in there. I mean, like just down to the point where I was ready to go buy a hoodie. I mean, it was very cold, and I don't mind the cold that much. But man, Monday night it was pretty warm in there, and it was kind of warm in DC also. So I wasn't sure if that was maybe affected Steven Seiler. I mean, I spoke to him briefly, after the fight, but he was just with his family. So I didn't want to get too deep into it, man. But I just asked him how he felt, and he was like, "Man, I've had better days." So, but as a consolation prize, I believe all the runner-ups each won 250,000. So you didn't win the million, but at least you got 250K, which is a nice payday also. On top of whatever money that you've earned, throughout the
It
season.
was cool that in that post show conference they gave us a little bit of that breakdown about that they did get paid for some of their initial fights, and the payments on finals night kind of was just for the playoffs. I think they said that maybe the runner ups only got 200 flat, but
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I mean, they got paid during the season
Yes.
for every fight, and they got paid, and now you got this big nice chunk of
I
money.
mean, I'm not going to, Seiler, I think, did a lot of good things in that fight. But unfortunately, the things that he did good and, executed aren't things you get points for. He was getting taken down, but he was getting up. And when he was
Yeah.
down, he was defending himself well. But that doesn't score you points. And that's why he lost with the
No.
hit, I think.
I mean, the numbers are pretty remarkable. Well, standing up, uh it was almost a dead even, through the 25 minutes. All right, stand up, it was 12 minutes and 16 seconds, and ground time was 12 minutes and 44 seconds.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just a fair even split as far as how they were planning their attacks. But the output was wow. I mean, like you have Steven Seiler, his strikes thrown or landed 41 out of 70 for 59%. He only had 5 power strikes, like 36, jabs and stuff like that. As opposed to Lance Palmer, 132 strikes landed, 176 thrown for 75%. I mean, 21 power strikes, 111 non-power. I mean, he was just outworking the guy, But it was just, ground, and then on the ground, that's when it just became even more evident. So you had, you know, I'll read Lance's numbers first. He threw 118 strikes on the ground and landed 93. All right. Seiler, he was 100% accurate on the ground, but he only threw 17 punches.
See.
So it
And even their time standing, they were clenched up, leaning up against the cage. You know, they
A
weren't
lot, yeah,
trading
yeah,
blows; they were locked up.
yeah. So true that. So I mean, you can kind of see what the judges were, saying by their scores. Um, it wasn't a lot. It's funny to see. So Palmer, the plan was plain and simple. 31 hard years of work paying off. I do this for my family, who means everything to me, and for myself. We did this together, and I'm so happy to be able to share this, with them, this moment with them, with all of them. So that was pretty nice. I always give them the stink eye when I hear like any of these athletes say I do this for my family and all that. Because like as an athlete, you're very selfish, with your time and your practice and your preparation and your games or your matches always come first before anybody. It would come first whether they were single, if they're married and have kids. I mean, they all talked about it. At the presser, it was like, OC was like, I want to spend time with my family and blah blah blah, and all the sacrifices that everyone else has to do. And I want to say, I can't remember, John. I want to say somebody was coming out with a documentary of professional fighters, but it was just the fighters' wives, like how they had to deal with, the husbands having, multiple workout sessions throughout the day and not being able to spend a lot of time at home and all that, and kind of get the wife's perspectives. I thought that was kind of cool, but
Mm-hmm.
can't remember. I have to track that down. Um, so yes, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of excitement in there, but yeah, nonetheless, hats off to Palmer. And then we have Natan Schultz against Rashid Magomedov. And these guys both train out of ATA. They're teammates. So um, I did ask him a question at, gosh, I can't even remember, PFL 5 in Long Island. Like, what's it going to be like to, fight against, someone who's on your teammate? And he was like, they talked about it and it is what it is, right? But then at the same time, at the end of the day, these guys train with each other, right? Every day. So they punch each other in the face and kick each other in the face, just for practice. So it's no big deal to them. So I didn't think they went as hard as they could, maybe because of that, that friendship. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on that?
Um, this fight was pretty close. Looking at my notes that I took, I do think that Nathan was kind of in control. The one thing that I'm still not sure about, and I know we talked a little bit about this, was
Yeah.
right about the 130 mark in the second round, we had the eye poke. And I don't know exactly who poked whose eye and who got lost a point for it. And I don't know if that made a difference in the end, because this was a pretty close fight.
Yeah.
But there was in the beginning of the fifth round, they showed a board that was something like 98 to 38 connected strikes in favor of
Rashid.
yeah. And so yeah, that's a pretty decisive looking number right there. But I don't know. This is an interesting fight. I
That's
really thought that Rashid had the longer legs and the longer arms and good distance, and major credit to Nathan, because he closed that distance, and that extra distance didn't allow Rashid to get anything behind his hits. And by closing that distance, it really allowed him to kind of take over and win the fight.
Yeah, I'm not. If you just look at the numbers, it looks like Rashid dominated the fight, and he seemed to have more output, but it didn't seem like when his punches landed, they didn't have a lot on them. But dude, it was just Rashid, like he threw 252 punches and landed 113. Natan threw 98 and landed 42. So percentage wise, they're around 42, 40, 43, 45%. So it's not necessarily, even though Rashid put out more volume, he wasn't as efficient as Natan was with his.
And
So it looks a little lopsided, like like wow, he won, but the other guy threw so much. I mean,
What about takedowns? Rashid didn't attempt any, right?
let's see, leg strikes. Nope, zero.
Zero. And
Zero.
she was very successful with his takedown.
Yeah, four out of five.
So I think that played a major role throughout the rounds.
But he did what he took him down and he didn't do anything while he was on the ground though. He just kind of laid and prayed on him. Like he didn't throw any strikes. So I mean, I don't know if he did his research on the New York Athletic Commission because they're not always there with it with their judging because I think maybe is this the second year that they've had MMA legal in New York, or is it the first year? I can't remember.
I think I went to the first event that they legally had sanctioned up in New York City. It was a Bellator event at Madison Square Garden, and that was during 2016.
Okay. So they're still in their infancy of getting their judges.
Yeah, it's still new to them.
I mean, wasn't that?
It was the same night that Nate from Conquest fought. He was
No, I'm trying to think. Didn't where was that? Where was that last heavyweight boxing fight? Was that also at Madison Square Garden?
The boxing match. I think so.
Yeah, earlier this month. I can't even think the guy's name.
Give me right now, but there was a big boxing match at MSG earlier in December, I believe.
Yeah. With the bronze bomber, whatever his name is, and the Gypsy King. And they ruled out a draw when clearly the Gypsy King won that fight. So you kind of wonder what these judges are looking at. Let me see. Let me look at this scorecard.
It was 40.
Big shout out to PFL for sending me all this stuff, man. This is awesome. So
got to give a shout out to those camera folks too, my man.
Yeah, so they took a point away.
Didn't all judges scored at 48-46, right?
They took a point away from Magomed. So they said that he poked him in the eye.
Okay.
Second round.
Yep.
And man, it was a unanimous decision. Wow.
If they wouldn't have lost a point, it would have been 48-47. All judges. It's a lot closer of a score than the 48-46.
Yeah.
But the last three rounds, honestly, Natan dictated the fight. He controlled what was going on, and I really, that combined with the fact that he got takedowns and was more efficient in his striking and seemed to have a little bit, more power behind his strikes, I think that explains the victory.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So Natan is a $1 million winner. And he's got a little quote for himself for the Brazilian. I will not speak in Portuguese. So he says, "This is the happiest moment of my life, no doubt. I fought the best this season and earned this championship. There are no words to describe this moment. He's so happy." And he did post a picture of him sleeping with the belt and the $1 million check as his headboard. Got that up on the Instagram page. So
that was cool. I like that picture. That was
nice. Yeah. So and then somebody got I forget who it was. Maybe it was Lenz had posted a picture of his daughter sleeping in the bed. You're like, oh, look what daddy brought home for Christmas, and it's like, the belt. And I was like, yeah, that's cute. And then I guess we had our intermission, which is not really an intermission, but when Kayla Harrison was fighting,
right,
against Charnisky, Moriel Charnisky, and I don't think Moriel has had a fight in a couple years.
Really?
So yeah, so it's kind of a softball. I mean, she's tough. I mean, she was tough. I mean, she wasn't going to quit, until the ref stopped it, but she really didn't have a lot of output for Kayla. So and so the last person that Kayla fought was Josette Cotton out of the Midwest, and she trains with Anthony Lionheart Smith, or at least out of the same gym. And I believe for next year they've extended a contract to Josette Cotton, and she's got a mean ground game, not ground game, excuse me, stand up game. So she's nice with the hands. I mean, she has a record of I don't know, like 11-2 or something like that. So she's tough. I can't remember if Kayla submitted her or if it was a decision. And it might have been a decision, but Kayla was in control most of the fight. But when Kayla punched her in the face, or when Josette punched Kayla in the face, she didn't want any parts of that. So she's got to get used to getting punched in the face. So, but I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure they offered Josette a contract. I'm not sure if they offered Morel a contract, and I can't remember the first lady that she fought in Chicago. So, and if they did offer them a contract, so therefore you have 4 of your 12 female fighters at 145 already signed up. So all they're looking for is 8 more. But I gotta imagine at some point in time they want to put Kayla up on the pedestal, but at some point in time you got to have some serious, competition for her to
Yeah,
go up against.
she's gonna have to get in there against somebody that's got some more cred than the folks that she's been in there with. But all at the same time, she's gotten the job done when she's had the chance, and I know that she's training with the right people and continuing to grow. And I think she's excited about where the sport is going, especially for women. So it's exciting to have her involved, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, she's got 2 gold medals in judo from the Olympics. I mean, she's credentialed. Rhonda didn't get the gold medal, so
She's an amazing athlete all around.
yeah. And I mean, this you saw her in that little white dress all swole up. I was like, holy crap, man. I mean, she's got some shoulders on her. So she's just short, but I mean, she's thick. So she continues to win. I mean, it was a TKO in the first round. Um, I don't even know if it's even worth looking at the strike output, because Moriel put up 0.
No, I mean, honestly, Kayla had Moriel on her back, and she had her mounted within 15 or 20 seconds into the fight.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Haymaker after haymaker, just dropping bombs to her face. It was total domination execution.
Oh, look, Moriel got off 4 punches, 4 kicks, 50% on both, and Kayla was 43 or 49. 2 strikes, 2 leg kicks, or 2 kicks, and on the ground. I mean, you saw she was just she was just unloading her on the ground. So she was 41 or 45 on the ground, 2 takedown attempts. So, I mean, like you said, she mounted her, and then it was all right. So,
hey, let me ask you a question real quick. Now that you've gotten to look at some of your pictures, how did that lens work out?
Man, that lens is phenomenal. Shout out to DC Camera for hooking your boy up. With a badass 70 to 200 millimeter Canon lens EF. What is it? The IS2 USM, f2.8. It was not all the pictures came out great, but that's to be expected. But it definitely much better than what I was using for my f4 lenses. So definitely, I've already put another order in for them. And they're taking care of me, so no need for me to go elsewhere. But I I haven't edited any of the pictures, and I mean, I took roughly 2,000 pictures that night, right? That I kept, and then there was, of course, a bunch of test shots that I kind of deleted. But the lens, I guess, the lens helps so much. In the sports photography, it's like, so I see why, like, that is the holy grail of sports photography. Now there's another version of that that's like the L model, and it's like the F4, and it costs quite a bit less, about 600 to 800 bucks less, and it gives you about the same picture quality, but it doesn't do the fast autofocus, which you need for your for your sports photography. But the pictures that I really liked, that I went through, I probably only went through maybe half. I probably maybe I mean, I don't even know if it was half. I was just looking at them like, I don't think I even need to touch a lot of those pictures up. And that's really like the major difference, where you don't, where as opposed you would have to touch them up a little bit using like an F4 or F5 type lens. I mean, you can still get great pictures out of that, but man, it's just wow.
Well, it's good of those people to hook you up, and hopefully, beginning of a long term relationship.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, man. Those guys are real great. Will and I forget everybody else's name over there, but they're stand up dudes. So if you're in Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC, check them out. dc-camera.com. Shameless plug right there. Um,
Well, the next fight that we had was the real OC, and I don't want to start at the end, but man, when's the last time you watched a fight and during intermission the ref called the fight off? I can't tell you last time during intermission they said fight's done. I mean, when did you see that?
it's happened. Gosh, it's happened once earlier this season already, I think.
I know we had the stoppage with like Rob's first fight when dude claimed he got kicked in the you know what.
Yeah,
But
he did, and he that bullshit backfired on him.
yeah.
He thought that he would get the DQ and the win by default, and then not in the state of Illinois. So that dude fucked himself over. No, but I'm trying to remember. Someone decided, like, I can't. It was someone early in the season that they were just gassed, and they're like, "Nah, I'm done," and they just gave up. I can't remember. I may be confusing it with some other organization.
I was texting with a buddy who was watching it on TV, and the commentators that were live on TV said something about Vinny had broken his arm during the third round or something like that. But us at the event, we didn't get any type of information like that from the PA announcers.
Oh wow, I didn't hear that. That is hmm. No, I didn't even hear that. So that's something I got to look into.
Yeah.
All right, and let's see. I mean, and it started off really good, man. I mean,
Vinny had the ground game going strong. I mean, at the end of
yeah,
the first round, I think Vinny definitely won the first round. Sean landed some serious blows, but I mean, Vinny was, that game was on the ground, and he had Sean's back at the 3 minute mark. And credit to Sean for keeping on fighting, because Vinny was looking for leg bars and all kinds of real great ground game moves.
yeah. I mean, he's a jiu-jitsu champion. Um, let me see real quick. Yeah, so he's definitely Oh wow, that's huh. Yeah, interesting there. Him and Verdum got into it a few years back at uh ABDC. He tried to break his arm. But yeah, I don't see anybody. Huh. I don't see anybody mentioning that. So
You'll
I
have to
don't know.
check into it. Sometimes
But that's interesting, that they didn't mention that, but I don't see that.
commentators might be going off of what they think, not necessarily what's actually happening.
Yeah. I mean, they had in PFL 10 in DC, they had Rick Story.
Yeah.
He tapped because he did something to his arm.
Okay.
but they didn't announce anything like he broke his arm or anything. They, and I had to ask him after for the presser. I'm like, yo, what happened? They're
Right.
like, oh, he did something to his arm. I'm like, he did something to his arm. Okay, all right, that's cool. So you don't know either. So, but the numbers are astonishing, man. Because Vinny gassed out. I mean, that place was getting warm and warm and warmer and warmer, and he's a muscular dude. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or like that possible arm, having an issue.
Yep.
But it, the strikes landed. Vinny had 67 to 30. And landed 36, and Connell had 170 and landed 98. No. And that fight got a little sloppy. I mean, Vinny did clock him early in the first round and split him open.
Oh yeah.
So it was a bit of a bloody mess, those first 2 rounds, man. So I mean, OC looked like the Walking Dead in that during in the early part of that those first 2 rounds. But like you said, he wasn't trying to have any parts of that ground game of Vinny. So and even Vinny was just so tired, like he couldn't even when they were on the ground, he couldn't do anything. I mean, he couldn't go for a submission or anything.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
the ground game was real strong for Vinny in the first round, and I think he had one solid takedown early in the second round. But about 2.5 minutes, about halfway into the second round, then he landed like 2 hits on Sean, and then Sean responded with 5 real strong, violent
Yeah.
hits.
Yeah, he was definitely checking his chin.
That was the first time where Vinny tried to do a takedown, but it was more of like just a dive to the leg, like not a good attempt at all, but it's all he could do because he was just eating huge shots to the face.
Yeah. I mean, oh
I
yeah. Yeah, I mean I forgot. Yeah, so O'Connell, I mean, and both of them were doing it. I mean, they were both grabbing onto the fence blatantly.
yeah,
After a while, and it was just like, dang, man, get old KP, Mr. Keith Peterson, was up there slapping hands, all night long. But surprisingly, I'm looking at the scorecard, and let's see. I'm looking at 10-9 the first round for Vinny. 10-8 from one ref and 10-9 from or from the other judge. And then it looks like they gave the second. Yeah, they gave the second one to OC. Third round, OC. I mean, wow. I mean, it goes from 10-9, 10-8, 10-9 to second round, 9-10, in the favor of OC. And then, then there's a 10-8 for OC, and then a 10-9 OC, and then the third round, 10-8, 10-8, 10-8.
yeah. I mean, Vinny barely made it out of the second round.
Yeah.
There,
He was slow to get off the ground.
barely hung on till the horn, barely.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, yeah, you know what? And going back to that lens thing, man, I'm still a little irritated that I didn't get to get cage side. So,
Yeah, that's one thing that PFL could definitely do to improve would be to communicate accurate information to media, especially people like yourself that are traveling up there at your own expense.
yeah.
As a fan that's dedicated to doing this, it would have been helpful to know more. But also, they're putting on an event at the epicenter of our country on its biggest night of the year.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to balance, and PFL is not it's a new organization, and so they're still feeling everything out. And I'm sure that we'll see a lot of improvement from this year to next year, and it's just part of the growing pain process.
Oh yeah, I mean those guys are great, but yeah, that was the only real like negative thing I had for the whole experience all year long. So, I'm a little bummed that I didn't get to play with the big boy lens like right there at cage side, but I guess I still got some good shots. That 200 has a lot of length out of it. I could have used, a 300. Truthfully, I mean, I wouldn't have gave a damn if I had, a 300 millimeter lens on that sucker.
Right.
But that is what it is. Probably at that point, a 100 to 300 millimeter lens would have sufficed. You
Yeah.
know. But yeah, but nonetheless, man, it's still got some great shots, and I gotta start posting them here soon. All right, so and then we got to the big boys.
Yeah. Huggy
Um,
Bear.
yeah, Felipe Lenz and Josh Copeland. Uh, I mean, man, oh man, what do you say about that one? I mean, they were doing a lot of feeling out and
A lot of dancing, a lot of
yeah,
very slow start. Both guys were really trying to draw the other guy in to, each guy threw a couple of punches and kicks in the first round, but they're really, Josh's stuff didn't connect with as much force as Lynn's did, through the first round at least. And then
yeah.
Lynn's slowly but surely took over this fight to the point where, Josh wasn't protecting his face. He was eating some of the hardest thrown punches I've seen for almost ever. And Lynn's dominating is a dominating win for Lynn's. It was unfortunate to see Huggy Bear finish out the way he did because I really like him as a fighter, but it's a tough one for him.
He's great. I mean, he was a number 8 seed, and I don't think he originally qualified for the playoffs, but someone got injured, so he was the alternate, so he got to slide in there.
Right.
So he's riding on house money. I mean, hats off to him.
I mean, he does the right stuff. He's a preacher.
Yeah, I mean, and he's hilarious on Instagram. So, he's a great follow if you guys aren't following him now. I mean, he's just fun, wants to have fun, and he was showing off because this dude is eating pizza on fight week. And I'm like, come on, big boy, you shouldn't be eating pizza during fight week, even though you're like, he was underweight. I think he was weighted at 255 maybe, but still, that's not kind of the stuff you want to be fueling your body during fight week and at your chance to winning $1 million. So
you got to have a meal prep system working 4 weeks up to the fight and making sure you're getting every bit of nutrients that you can. I mean, I can't say no to pizza, but I'm not.
But yeah, I mean, it was. What, I think it was Felipe that actually posted that picture of his daughter sleeping in the bed with his belt. So, but yeah, he had an interesting quote, man. With the family I have and this accomplishment, I am the happiest man on earth. I still can't believe this happened to me. I was close to retiring before this opportunity. I'm so happy.
He was the one guy we didn't get to see. He had to go get some medical stuff done, I guess, and didn't make that post-fight presser. It would have been cool to see him, but all at the same time, give credit to the ref, Big Dan, making sure to let the fight go as long as he could, but also stopping it at a point before we had somebody like in a freaking coma.
Yeah, I mean, dude. Just knees, boom, 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 and he just kept his hands down. He wasn't even protecting himself at all. He just walked into the dude and bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, protect yourself. He's like, I don't care. Boom, boom, boom.
Like you crashed.
Holy crap!
I mean,
wow!
Crash without a seatbelt.
Yeah, completely. I mean, no regard. I mean, just wow.
I hope that he bounces back and gets in next season if he's up for it because he's exciting and I think he can improve.
Yeah, definitely, man. Let's see, and then that leads us up into our main event.
Magomed, I tell you.
Magomed Karamov versus Ray Cooper III. Everybody was waiting for the brother boy to come out there and put in work and lay homie out. And wow.
Biggest surprise of the night here. I thought we were going to see Ray land another monster shot and have a knockout and win that check. And Magomed had different plans. And, credit to him for, playing his game and making sure that whatever happened, he got out of there with the win. He did what he had to do.
Now, Ray and I talked about this, a couple weeks ago, came on the show. And, I was like, Ray, are you worried about his game plan? Is anything like guilty? Nah, it's got nothing. And I'm not worried about it. And, he doesn't practice BJJ. And, he's had alluded to like, you don't wear pajamas in the ring. So why do I need to worry about BJJ? And, I mean, Ray is confident, as he should be. But he just went in there and he was just throwing haymakers, man. And he wasn't trying to set it up. He was just going for the kill shot. And, you know, Magomed Karamov, he just, kind of tied his hands up when he could, and both hands up against the ring, and, kind of smothered them, and, when he could. And during the exchange, he caught him with an ankle pick, man. He caught the wrestler with an ankle pick. Like, dude, Ray is a state high school champion when it comes to wrestling. Like, he shouldn't have got ankle picked, Right. I mean, and that just caught me off guard. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. And then they went to the ground a couple times, and then next thing you know, that last time they went to the ground, and I'm like, what's going on? I can't see anything. And the next thing you know, it was ding, 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 ding. I had no idea what happened, until I saw the replay, because I was on the other side, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. And then me and other the photographers and, and everyone that came out to see him, like 50, I don't know how many people had, 50, 60 people come out there to see him. I mean, everyone just was like in disbelief, man. I mean, it's like that dude is the face of the PFL. Everyone talked about, Ray Cooper, his knockouts, his power, and to kind of go out like that, it's just kind of, bittersweet, I guess. And I can't even say if that's bittersweet, man. That was just ended on a sour note, man. And he was like in disbelief of just like the rest of us, man. He caught him in that guillotine that I've seen, Magomed Karamov. I've seen him try that. That's his go-to. That's his bread and butter, that guillotine. His bread and butter is the guillotine, this kind of side low leg kick that he does. And I forget. And then one other move I was watched, like a couple of his fights, and he does the same moves every time. And in some kind of way, he had like a knockout. I think the guy just really ran into him as he was punching him and knocked himself out. But most of his, he's not known as a power puncher, but his game plan worked, and he got the W. And that's one of Khabib's guys.
Yeah.
So
when they showed the pre-fight little snippet about Ray and how he trains and where he trains and his whole setup he's got out there, that's a different system than these guys at ATT, right?
Yeah, completely.
So and we also hear about some guys traveling somewhere for their camp before a fight, getting themselves into a different place. And I feel like maybe that's something Ray could take advantage of in the future, is working with a couple different coaches before fights. It'll help gear him towards his opponents and help him kind of maybe get an edge on a tougher fight.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Ray's won all the way up till now with this same style, and I just think he was just a bit too aggressive.
Okay.
I don't think going to these big gyms is going to change anything. I just, Ray always comes out aggressive, and Ray's dad has to calm him down, right? His dad is always saying like, Ray, calm down, calm down, calm down. But Ray is just, I'm going out there and I'm gonna knock this dude out, because Ray's last loss was via decision, and he's like, I'm never going to let a judge decide if I win or lose. So I just think that I mean, he really didn't have anything to fear, right? But he fell in that dude's guillotine nice and deep, and that's all it takes, man. I mean, when he fell, that head, I mean, his neck was exposed, and that guy just reached over him, man, with that long, narrow, body, and he
I mean,
got Ray, man. He
does,
got him.
does the whole theme of any given Sunday pay in effect? Yeah, any given Sunday, the worst team can beat the best team. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
that day for Ray, unfortunately, and it was Magomed's best day ever.
Yeah. I mean, one punch. I mean, he definitely was ready for the heavy shots, and he kept his distance. He stayed on his bicycle a lot, and he kept his balance, and he's very elusive. Um, but Ray was just, I mean, Ray had the disadvantage when it comes to height, but that's most of his fights, and so Ray is doing a lot of leaping punches, and he's off balance. I mean, and the guy just caught him. I mean, you kind of he used Ray's strengths against him.
Yeah,
And it's almost like in the same sense of when Nunes fought Cyborg. I didn't think that Cyborg would go rolling in there just throwing haymakers like old Cyborg would, and I thought she would like give her a little respect and kind of fight her more or less like she did Holly Holm. And like no one thought that it would go the 5 rounds, the full distance. But she was just kind of trying to prove to everyone that she couldn't go that distance, and more of a tactical approach. And because Cyborg is still wild with her punches, they're looping, they're never straight on. I mean, Cyborg has never straight knocked any chick out. She hasn't. She's beat her down, and she's never. I mean, and Nunes knocked down the bully. I mean, just pop, 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 face plant. You know, um, so it's just like, oh, okay. And as Nunes says, she played right in my game plan. She put all of her weight on her front foot, and then when I kicked it, and I seen her go to the side, I was like, all right, I know how she's going to fight. And Nunes is a great counterpuncher, and not to mention Nunes has these incredible long arms, and she was bigger than Cyborg. I could not believe like she was bigger than Cyborg and not like muscular. And I'm like, holy fuck, this girl is big. I mean, she was wider than Nunes, or wider than Cyborg was, and she definitely had the reach advantage, and that played it, played into her game plan. So she was just bam, bam, bam. I mean, she was just killing her with that. But I know Ray's heartbroken. Um,
you
you
think he'll
know,
next season
what's
PFL?
that?
You think
What's
he'll
that?
go next year?
He's coming back.
Yeah, good.
He's definitely coming back. I know he talked about moving up um to middleweight and trying to fight at 185 and then possibly 205, but I mean that's just a lot of weight for Ray to carry on his frame, man. So I mean he's small at 170. I think I don't know. He doesn't like to cut all that weight. Even though he's cutting about 20 pounds.
Some fighters can handle it and still perform at the top of their game, and some fighters really lose some endurance
Yeah.
and power.
I mean he's even though he's been a wrestler, he hasn't cut weight as a wrestler. He mostly, he's always wrestled around his natural weight. So, you know, I don't think he would ever try to fight at 155. I'm gonna try to get Carlos Silva on the show, president of the PFL, and talk to him, see if he would open up different weight classes also. Because he's opening up the 155 for women. It's like, okay, well, what about if you do a 155, 165, 175, 185, and then jump from 185 to 205? Because I don't really think there's a need for a 195.
Yeah,
Um,
it gets a
but
lot harsher with guys once you get up there.
yeah, so one thing with with how the tournament format goes, you don't have to worry about someone falling out. It's like if you don't fight, you don't fight, and your opponent gets the victory. I mean, they just keep rolling, which is nice. But at least with that tournament format, you know who you're going to fight. You know what happens if you win by this many points, and if your playoff chances, and so on and so forth. So you don't have a lot of the politics that you would, like in the UFC and all that nonsense. So,
for sure.
but dang man,
That really resonated with all the fighters that spoke at the press conference after the fight, is that they were into the PFL system, the structure, the setup. It definitely, with them wanting to be competitors and be champions, it gives a different path than anything else in MMA. I
yeah,
think probably the future.
yeah. I mean, I know I enjoyed it. I was a little hesitant on how that would work out, and of course now as I've gotten to know the fighters and ripping the PFL, I like it. I kind of the one thing I don't like about it, man, is October is the last fight, and then there's nothing happening in November. And I was just like, I got used to that every other Thursday.
Right.
Excuse me. I got used to that having a fight every other Thursday. And then all of a sudden, 3-4 months into it, I don't get a fight for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that was a
I'm
tough
like,
break.
I'm like, damn, dude. I'm like, you messing me up on that one, bruh. So it'll be interesting to see if they. I think they were thinking about stretching out the fights a little longer to get some of the guys to heal up. I know Jao Zeffirino, he was a heavy favorite. He couldn't compete in the playoffs due to an injury, you know. So maybe if they had like one extra week, they could perform.
It'll be interesting to see the little tweaks that they bring in from lessons learned, and applying anything that they can do to make an improvement that'll make everybody happy.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But that, I mean, Ray got submitted in that guillotine second round, but all the judges had the first round going to Magomed. So
I'm not surprised.
yeah,
Magomed was definitely dictating what was going on. Um, just a lot of leaning on the cage, a lot of takedown attempts, a lot of defense. Magomed landed a real big, haymaker right towards the end of the round.
yeah,
But other than Ray stalking him a little bit and trying to walk him down, that was the only control that I saw from Ray during that fight. He
yeah.
stalked him a little bit, but he couldn't land a big punch.
Yeah, he didn't look good in his game plan by chasing him down like that. Um, oh crap! Look at that. They even sent me video clips. Hot dang! Wow, PFL hooked me up, bro.
Good people. Good people.
They sent me video clips. Wow, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool though. I mean,
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about attending, sports events live is you don't get that commentary, you know. But that I think that it draws you more into what's happening. Um, but yeah, man, I missed that. I didn't get any shots of that dude getting knocked out. God dang it, that kind of burns me up. But oh well, they did send me shirts or shots of homie getting dropped. Let's see. But yeah, it was a great event, man. I mean that was awesome. You know, we didn't get that exciting knockout from Ray Cooper, but we did get excitement. You know, we got excitement opening the show, and excitement and disbelief that Ray lost to close the show out. But hey, man, 6 new millionaires, money that's going to change somebody's life. Granted, they'll probably hopefully they got a good accountant. you know, um, but yeah, I mean those dudes. I mean, they won. They won. So hats off to all those new fighters, man. So I can't wait till next year. And unfortunately, now we got to wait till June before the season kicks off.
I know that's something that they're probably not going to be able to do, in early 2019. But looking at future years, having some February, March, April contests for fighters that want to get into the PFL, have some mini tournaments.
Yeah, exactly.
You get in there and you do that, then you're going to get a chance to get into the season. That'd be cool, preseason stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they had a couple of fighters that they brought in that weren't on the roster, and that they fought on the Facebook Live card.
Yes.
That they're possibly thinking about bringing in. So, I mean, definitely if they they brought off season some OTAs or some scrimmages. I don't know, some, like you said, like some fights. Some fighters competing to make it into the league. I mean, that would be awesome, right? I mean, just kind of like UFC with their tough series, right?
Right.
Everyone's fighting to get a contract or whatever, and it's like, okay, you fight, and without all that drama, man. Because I haven't watched Tough in years, man, and I try to just wait to the last 15 minutes of the show and watch the fight, but I could care less about that drama in the household, man. That's not me, man. I don't care about all that other stuff. I mean, and even watching Dana White's Contender Series,
right?
I mean, it's I don't know. They definitely need some help on that aspect. But I think with this infusion of this $28 million and bringing in Mark, what is this? Mark Gordon, is that his name? I can't even think of his name now. Mark Goodman, who devises a lot of television content, and then they actually have a really cool dude working for PFL who does a lot of digital content and concepts and websites and stuff like that. That's probably pushing them, and then they're trying to figure out what this new smart cage is going to be, and it's being provided by the company that provides the yellow line on the NFL lines or field for first down and stuff. So they're going to be able to measure heart rates, fatigue, power shots, speed of punches, kicks, things that it'll be like watching a live video game.
Right.
I don't know how soon they're going to have that information, like if they're going to have it like on the side or side of the screen, and measure levels, health levels, and all that, and everything, and just to, I guess, new technology, and one for like player safety or fighter safety, things of that nature. So it'll be pretty interesting, and then how other fighters use that data, when they're fighting another opponent.
Right.
To see how they stand up to a different barrage of head kicks or combinations, or that they'll be able to pull out all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
number of punches, and so
kind of like you see on the commercials during the NFL right now, all of this next gen stats about there was a 26% chance that they completed this pass. Well, especially when you're looking at the PFL and you got a guy that's got 2 fights in one night. You get some of those next gen stats to work. Yeah. It's a whole different level of competition.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I mean, for the fans, that's great. And then they then kind of separate themselves even more so from Bellator and the UFC. Kind of like with this technology. I mean, it's great. I mean, their app is even awesome, man. Like, you stream their fights, and And I was going to stream the fight, but there's no outlets up there where I was at. So I was like, I don't want to kill my cell battery, but their app streams flawlessly, man. Beautiful HD color. I mean, it's awesome. And then you can say like I can send you an invite, and then we can have our own kind of like chat room, and then we can just talk back and forth, or you can have as many as 15 people or something like that, and in our own dedicated chat room, or we can chat with others, or just turn the chat off and just watch the fight. So they're being pretty innovative,
Yep.
which is kind of cool, using technology and and trying to pull in that younger generation. Everyone likes the ooh factor, so. But yeah, man, it just sucked that it rained, rained all night. But it was nonetheless, it was awesome, and I can't wait till next year.
Yeah. If they do that again like that next year, I know I'm trying to be there. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see if if they're going to have more fights too. I mean, that'd be awesome. But
wait,
I mean, they still need to announce if they're going to be on NBC Sports next year. They've already announced that they're still going to have their partnership with Facebook Live, so they'll still be doing the Facebook Live stuff.
I got a feeling we'll see him on NBC again.
Yeah, more than likely. More than likely. I mean, I'm sure, because Carlos used to work for NBC Sports also, as well as HBO and things of that nature. So
Yeah, there's a
he's
lot
got
of
it.
relationships within the crews and stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that. And I
Oh
think,
yeah.
I mean, the quality of the output that we've seen has been because there's some really strong connections between the
Yeah.
people, working with the different groups to make this happen.
I mean, hell, even and their commentary is awesome too.
Oh yeah,
With Eve Edwards and Boss Rutan and and even Randy, Randy Couture, um, you know, but yeah, I mean, Eve is just, man, he's awesome. On the commentary, man, and then Boss, always gives that great color, and oh, excuse me, and and then Randy just kind of gels everybody together, and and then even Carolyn Pierce, she's great as a sideline, or I guess not sideline, but she does her reports, and she also works for like BT Sports, which is like the UK version of ESPN. So she does reporting for UFC also, which is interesting. Not just PFL.
right.
So she's digging in the dough, raking it in. So good on her also.
Oh yeah, got to.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I guess that's it. Unless you got some other stuff.
Just a big thanks.
Easy.
Taking me up with you and including me on this is a lot. It's been a lot of fun from start to finish, and I hope to do it again.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you coming up there and had a lot of fun. And as we say, until the next time is the right time. Check us out, Head Movement MMA. We'll holler. Peace.